Today we're going to be replacing the rear brakes on my 2013 Dodge Grand Caravan. We're doing new rotors and new pads. First we loosen the lug nuts while the vehicle's still on the ground. Get up. I've already placed the bottom of the jack underneath the unibody. I recommend putting some cardboard or a sheet down on the ground so you don't get brake fluid or any other oil or grease on the pavement. Next we take these caliper slide bolts off. This is a 13 millimeter socket. Okay, that's what it looks like. After these two bolts are out, the whole unit can be removed, but I like to use a clothes hanger to hang it because the brake line is still connected here to the unit. So what I do, gently tap it off. I will be connecting it to this coat hanger so it doesn't hang. Now we want to get this rotor off, and it's about 10 years old, so it could be challenging. So since it's a front wheel drive car, this actually spins freely, so we can just kind of go along and tap it, try to break it loose. I like to use PB Blaster, which helps loosen rust. This engineer's hammer should do a better job because it's heavier and has a shorter handle. The old rotor's off. You can tell it's in pretty bad shape because it has a lot of grooves on it and it's really worn down and it's really rusty. So we're going to use this wire brush to clean up this part so that it has a nice smooth metal finish for the new rotor to butt up against. I'm using a rag to clean this, to get that PB blaster off. Now I'm taking this sanding disc on this drill to take some of this rust off this part so that it'll have a nice tight seal for the new rotor. With these needle nose vice grips, we're going to turn this brake piston back in because it was completely pushed out. So to create the space now, we need to bring it back in so it turns to the right. This side is easier to take off, so you can see that this rubber boot is working fine and goes over this rim. So this one's good to go. We just have to clean up this boot here, clean it, and redo it. Now this side I think is frozen and we're gonna have to get that out because I don't think that side's working. This caliper slide pin was rusted and took these needle nose vice grips to get it out. And once it finally came out, you can see rust in here, right here, and on the actual slide pin itself. So we need to get all that off. Now these brake pad shims you can take off, clean where they go, and then install these new ones that come with the brake pads. Now all of these four are on here now, new, that came with the brake pads. And we tried to save this, but it was just too rusted and too pitted. So we got, at the hardware store, we got these new parts here. So these are important because you need a good seal, and otherwise water can get in there and seize things up. So we're going with the new, at least one new one. And if the other side is bad too, then we'll have a spare. But you can see the difference once water gets in and messes it all up. We're using this sill glide, and it goes on the inside of this boot, and then it also goes on this pin here. Needs to be well lubricated. And then it goes into the boot, and then that gets seated around that, and then it gets inserted back in, and there's another lip right here that the boot goes over, just like that. And this side still has to be seated right there. So we'll do that. what we're doing is we're just putting some of this sill glide on these metal parts here so that the brakes can actually, the brake pads can move back and forth. You angle it, put one side in first, and then the other side. They have to go in somewhat together, and it's a tight fit. And then rotate it down like that. It's a pressure fit. One side's on. Now I'll do the other side. I used this brake parts cleaner to clean this new rotor, and then all you do is put it on. And next we're gonna attach this with the new brake pads over the brake rotor like this. Put the original bolts back through. We torque these bolts down to 100. Be careful not to over tighten these. So, that's the end of the job, and now we'll do the other side.